to the video solutions for the Edexcel Functional Skills English Level 2 Writing Practice Paper 6. In this video, we will go through the questions and you can get a better idea of what you want your answers to look like, as well as what to look out for when planning your answers. So during your writing exam, you'll be assessed on these criteria here, including punctuation, using correct grammar, spelling words correctly, including specialist words, communicating your information, ideas and opinions clearly, coherently and effectively so that your writing makes sense, writing using an appropriate level of detail and making sure that your writing is an appropriate length, organising writing for different purposes, using formatting and structure, so you want to be thinking about organisational features, conveying clear meaning and establishing cohesion using organisational markers, so that means connecting your ideas together, using different language and register that is suited to audience and purpose. So you need to be considering the audience and purpose of the text and using language that is appropriate for that audience and purpose. And finally, constructing complex sentences consistently and accurately and using paragraphs where they are appropriate. Let's take a look at the first task. So here we've been given information in the form of an email. So the subject of the email is Healthy Living Week, so we know that the topic that we're going to be writing about is health. The email says, "Hi everyone, Healthy Living Week is coming to our community centre soon. We have lots of health and fitness sessions planned, including healthy eating workshops, street dance sessions, martial arts training, football and netball competitions. Please let us know which sessions you would like to take part in. Also, tell us which other activities should be included and why. We'd love your ideas. Lucas, Community Centre Manager." So we've been given quite a lot of information here, quite a lot of detail, and we know that we're going to have to write an email to respond to Lucas and give some ideas about Healthy Living Week. So we've seen from this email that we need to explain which sessions we want to take part in and why. So do we want to take part in the healthy eating workshops, the street dance sessions, martial arts training, or the football and netball competitions? And why might we be interested in these things? Do we really like dancing? Do we think that we don't eat particularly healthy and we need to improve our knowledge of healthy eating? And then we want to describe any other activities that we think should be included. So he's asked us to tell us which other activities should be included and why. So you can include your own ideas to add to this list here. So for example, you could say that you want to do judo or swimming classes. And then finally we need to say why these activities would be popular. So the activities that we think should be included, we have to explain why they would be popular, give some justification as to why they should be included with these other activities here. So there's quite a few things that we need to do in this email, and we've only got 250 to 300 words to do it. So now let's take a look at an example of how a student has answered this question. Healthy Living Week. Dear Lucas, I am writing in response to your email regarding the activities available at the community centre during Healthy Living Week. I am passionate about health and fitness, and I wanted to sign up for some of the activities, as well as suggesting the addition of activities that I think will be even more inclusive and beneficial to the community. Firstly, I'd like more information about the street dance sessions and football competitions. I would like to participate in both. I think that street dance is a unique art form and football brings people together. However, I have a few questions. Are there any costs involved? When will the dance sessions and football competitions take place? Are there any training sessions for the football competitions, and if so, when do these take place? Will I need to bring my own equipment, for example shin pads? Secondly, I'd like to suggest a few more ideas to encourage as many people as possible to get involved. A walk in the park would be suitable for the elderly and people with disabilities who may struggle to participate in several of the proposed activities. Yoga sessions for beginners may similarly encourage people who are less active to join in with the community and improve their health. Both a walk and yoga sessions would have the additional benefit of improving mental health and would encourage people to relax, socialise and enjoy the local scenery. If you could answer my questions and let me know what you think about my suggestions, I'd be very grateful. Kind regards, Joanna Smythe. So what makes this a good answer? Well, to find that out, we're going to have to look through each of the marking criteria and see how the student has met each point. So the first one was punctuation. This answer uses capital letters and full stops at the start and end of each sentence throughout. It's really important that you're making sure that each sentence starts with a capital letter and finishes with a full stop so that your answer makes sense to the examiner. The student has also used a few more types of punctuation. For example, they've got commas used in here. Now, commas are really good to connect different ideas together. So for example, we've got I am passionate about health and fitness, and then a comma and a connective word here, and has been used to add additional information. We've also got apostrophes being used to shorten some of the words. So for example, instead of I would, the student has used a contraction here, I'd, to make the tone of the text a little bit more informal. We've also got a semicolon that has been used to link two sentences into one. It's quite a tricky piece of punctuation, a semicolon, so if you don't know how to use one, then that is fine. Just make sure that you're using capital letters, full stops and commas effectively. We've also got the use of question marks here to ask questions and find out more information. Finally, we have brackets. Now, brackets are really great for adding any additional information. So here, they've asked if they need to bring their own equipment, and they've used the brackets to add some additional information to give an example of the kinds of equipment they think they might need to bring. So overall, punctuation has been used really effectively, and quite a range of punctuation has been used as well. So this is quite an impressive answer in terms of the punctuation that has been used. Now let's take a look at the grammar and spelling in this answer. So all of your sentences need to be accurate and they need to make sense on their own. Often the best way to do this is to try and imagine someone reading it out loud. So we've read out this entire answer and all of it made sense. We need to make sure that verbs are matching up to the nouns. So here, for example, we've got I think. Now, if we were talking about somebody else, we would say he or she thinks instead with an S on the end there. And if we're in the process of thinking, you would say I am thinking or I was thinking. So making sure that everything fits together. So here they've said I would like and I think, all using the present tense effectively, and making sure that everything matches up and makes sense. Now let's think about the spelling in this answer. So the spelling is correct throughout the answer, and we have some trickier, more specialist words that have been spelled. So, for example, some more difficult words to spell include disabilities, participate, and activities. So try your best to include a wide range of vocabulary and try to include words that relate to the topic that you're talking about. But make sure that any words that you're trying to spell, you know how to spell them correctly, because incorrect spelling could lose you marks in your exam. If you struggle with spelling, the best way to improve is to just practice, and try to do as much reading as possible to familiarise yourself with the spelling of different words. So now we've had a look at spelling, punctuation and grammar. which are collectively worth 42% of your marks overall. So it's really important that you're paying attention to them because it's almost half of the marks in your exam. Now let's look at the next section of criteria, which is the composition of the answer. So part of this is making sure that all of your writing makes sense. Having good spelling, punctuation and grammar will help you to make your meaning clear, and if you read the answer out in your head, then that will help you to make sure that it's clear as well. Maybe try getting somebody else to read some practice answers so that they can ensure that every sentence you're writing is crystal clear and makes sense. It's also important to consider how long and how detailed your answers are. So often in a question you will be given a word count, and here we've been asked to write 250 to 300 words. This answer is 276 words, so it definitely meets that word count. If you practice questions, you'll get quite a good idea of what it looks like when you've written 250 to 300 words. It's also important to consider the details that we need to include. This answer uses appropriate details because it is addressing all of the bullet points in the question. So we've explained which sessions we want to take part in and why. We've explained that they want to take part in the street dance sessions and the football competitions that were mentioned in the email that were given. So football competitions and street dance sessions. And then they've explained why. That's another crucial part of the question there. So they've said that I think street dance is a unique art form and football brings people together. So those are appropriate details to be included. We've also got the other activities being described. So giving suggestions of a few more ideas and saying that walk in the park or yoga sessions might be helpful for people who struggle to participate in other activities. And we've explained why these activities would be popular as well. So, for example, the yoga sessions will encourage people who are less active to join in with the community and improve their health. And then we're talking about the additional benefits of improving mental health, encouraging people to relax, socialise and enjoy the local scenery. So we've got all sorts of details that have been included, and if you're struggling to add enough details, make sure that you are planning your answer before you start to generate lots and lots of ideas that you can use in your answer. Next, let's take a look at how this answer has been formatted and organised. So in your answers, you will need to choose an appropriate range of organisational features. These are sometimes called formatting features as well. So you can use these in your writing to make it clearer and break it up into different sections. So the formatting features that we need for an email include the from and to addresses, and we've helpfully been given a box here to write these in. And we also need a subject line. Now a subject line simply summarises in a few words what the email will be about. So this one is about Healthy Living Week. We also have a few more organisational features in this answer. So we've got paragraphs to break the answer up into different sections. We have a polite address because an email we are talking to somebody, trying to write to a specific person. And we have a polite sign off. We've got kind regards here and then the name of the sender. Finally, you don't have to include these in an email, but we've got some bullet points here. So these are used to break up different ideas. In this case, we are separating different questions, just so that the questions are clearly separated and much easier to read. So try to use as many relevant organisational features in your answers as possible, and make sure that if you're writing an email, you are including a subject line, to and from addresses, a polite greeting and sign off with your name. And make sure that in every answer, regardless of the text type that you're writing, You are always using paragraphs. It's important to make sure that your paragraphs are cohesive. So that means that you're joining up ideas to give a really clear meaning. So in each paragraph, all of the sentences should be about the same topic. So if we look at the first one, we have an introduction to the email here about Healthy Living Week. And then they explain that they are passionate about health and fitness, so staying with that theme of Healthy Living Week there, and wanted to sign up for some of the activities, as well as suggesting additional activities. So, focusing that first paragraph on an introduction to their suggestions about Healthy Living Week there. We've also got paragraphs that have been linked together. So in this paragraph we've used the word firstly to say that this paragraph is going to be about requesting more information about the activities. And then we've got secondly in the next paragraph to link it to the previous one. And they're saying secondly they want to suggest more ideas. So we know that this paragraph is going to be about suggesting new ideas for Healthy Living Week. So all of it flows on from each other, everything makes sense and links appropriately together. We've got lots of connective words that are used as well, and lots of punctuation to add information. So for example, we have this connective word "and" here to add some information, and as well. You'll also have to think about the types of language and register that you're using in your answers. So this essentially means that your writing has to have the right kind of tone and style to match the reader that it's aimed at. So this answer is suited to the audience because we've been asked to write to Lucas, and we've definitely written to Lucas here. We've addressed Lucas by name, and we've seen that Lucas is the community centre manager. So we are asking relevant questions. If he's the manager, then he's likely to know the answers to these questions, and then giving some suggestions that are appropriate for the audience. We've also got some quite respectful writing here. So for example, we've got "I'd be very grateful and kind regards," to show respect towards Lucas. We've got a generally positive tone because we are passionate about Healthy Living Week and we are interested in the sessions, saying that street dance is a unique art form and football brings people together. So overall, a very positive tone. This matches the purpose of the text because we've been told that we really want to do these activities. There are sessions that we would like to take part in. And we're also trying to persuade Lucas that our suggestions are positive and will create benefits for the community. So for example, we've got additional benefit here, encouraging people to relax, socialise and enjoy scenery. So all very positive language to persuade Lucas to take our ideas seriously. We don't have any slang words used throughout the answer, and we've got complex sentences, so it's quite a formal text overall, but because we're addressing Lucas by their first name, we've used contractions like "I'd" to make it slightly more informal, slightly more conversational. Finally, you should try to use some longer sentences that contain multiple ideas. These will show the examiner that you can link ideas together and you understand how ideas are connected. So, for example, in the first paragraph, we have "I am passionate about health and fitness, and I wanted to sign up for some of the activities, as well as suggesting the addition of activities that I think will be even more inclusive and beneficial to the community." So this is quite a long sentence here, and it's giving lots of details. So explaining that we're passionate about health and fitness, we want to sign up for some of the activities, and we want to suggest the addition of other activities, and then explaining that these will be more inclusive and beneficial. So so linking lots of different ideas within one sentence, using commas, using connectives, and making sure that all of it joins up really effectively. So overall, this is a really effective answer because it addresses all of the criteria that have been given by the exam board here. So we've got correct punctuation, we've got correct grammar, we're spelling words correctly, we are communicating clearly, coherently and effectively, so our answer makes sense. We're writing appropriate level of detail and an appropriate length by reading the question carefully to see what details we need to add, and by matching the word counts that have been given. We've organised the writing well because we've used organisational features to structure the email effectively. So we've got the use of a greeting, we've got a sign off, we've got all of the appropriate features for an email. We're conveying clear meaning and establishing cohesion. So that means that all of our writing is really well linked together. Our sentences work well together and each paragraph is about a slightly different topic, but they're all connected together really well. We're using effective language and register that is suited to the audience and purpose of the text. So our language is appropriate for Lucas, it's quite formal and respectful, and it's also very positive and persuasive to match the purpose of the text. And finally, we have constructed some complex sentences consistently and accurately. So we've tried to use longer sentences that join different ideas together. So altogether, we've met all these criteria and the answer is effective. Okay, so now let's take a look at the second task. And again, we've been given some information that will help us with our answer. So your workplace, college or school is proposing to ban the sale of meat and fish in the canteen. In future, only vegan and vegetarian food will be served. You decide to give your views using the catering team's online form. Write to the catering team to give your views on the proposal using the online form. In your online form, you should say whether or not you agree with the proposal and give detailed reasons to support your views. Write about 200 to 250 words. So in this question, we need to really focus on the information that we've been given. So we're focusing on a workplace, college or school, and because we've got these dashes in here, we need to just pick one of these. And they want to ban the sale of meat and fish in the canteen. So we're focusing on whether meat and fish should be banned or not, and we need to give our views about this issue. We're writing an online form, which is quite a tricky text type. There's no specific formatting features that we need to be using here, but you should always be using paragraphs and possibly headings and subheadings for this as well. And we need to say whether or not we agree, so give our opinion with the overall proposal, and then give detailed reasons to support this. So if there are any facts that we might have to support it, or any important reasons that we think that meat or fish should be banned or not. So now let's take a look at the answer. Dear catering team, I believe that the proposal to ban the sale of meat and fish in the canteen will negatively impact the health of students and infringes upon the right of students to make their own dietary choices. Everyone knows that meat and fish are the most protein-rich foods available to us. Unlike supposedly high-protein foods like nuts and legumes, the protein in meat and fish is released rapidly, providing students with the vital nutrients they need to succeed in a learning environment. Fish is a particularly healthy food as it's rich in omega-3, an important nutrient for the brain. Replacing these important dietary elements with handfuls of salad and plates of chips is hardly a wise choice in terms of nutrition. Moreover, students should be given a range of options so that they can make their own choices about what to eat. To take options away is to dictate to students that certain foods are right and wrong, thereby enforcing political views that students are statistically unlikely to share. It is simply a fact that the vast majority of people in the UK eat meat on a regular basis. Removing options in the canteen to cater for the views of a minority is not just morally questionable, it is clearly ridiculous. I propose that you send out a survey to all students of the school. I am more than certain that the response to this absurd proposal will lead to its immediate dismissal. Regards, Sansha Kingsley.
So let's take a look at the punctuation that has been used in this answer. So as we said before, we need capital letters at the start of each sentence and full stops at the end to show the readers where our sentences start and end. We also need to use commas to add some additional information and additional opinions. So for example, we've got to take options away is to dictate to students that certain foods are right and wrong. And then we've got a comma and a connective thereby to add some additional opinions about this, so thereby enforcing political views. As well as commas, we've got some speech marks that have been used, and these haven't been used to give quotes here, but they've been used to add sarcasm. So for example, we've got high protein. This is suggesting that foods like nuts and legumes aren't really high protein foods. They've been called that by the public incorrectly. We've also got right and wrong that have been used in a similar way, suggesting here that certain foods cannot be right or wrong. So those pieces of punctuation have been used correctly in the answer. We do have some incorrect use of punctuation as well. So when it says fish is a particularly healthy food as it's rich in omega-3, and then it goes on to say an important nutrient for the brain, this semicolon here should actually be a colon. So make sure that if you do not know how to use a particular piece of punctuation, you're not including that in your answer because you want to aim for as much accuracy as possible. Try to familiarise yourself with how to use a range of punctuation like question marks, exclamation marks, and things like apostrophes. But if you don't include those in your answers, then that's absolutely fine. Just make sure that your capital letters, full stops and commas are strong and correct throughout your answer.
All of the spelling in this answer is correct, and more difficult words such as infringes and supposedly have been used throughout the answer to show the examiner that this student knows how to spell a range of words correctly. Try to use more difficult vocabulary, but make sure that you are comfortable with the words that you're using and you practice your spelling before the exam. Now let's think about the clarity of this answer. Everything in this answer is very clear. They've clearly stated opinions such as, I believe that the proposal to ban the sale of meat and fish in the canteen will negatively impact the health of students. So that's very clear, all of it makes sense. So while you're writing, try to think about what you're about to write before you write it and make sure that it all makes perfect sense. We also need to make sure that our answers are detailed and that they have an appropriate length. So often in the question we'll get a word count, and here we've been told to write 200 to 250 words. This answer is 250 words exactly, so it meets that word count. Make sure that you practice some questions so that you've got a good idea of what it looks like to write 200 or 250 words. The details that you include are also really important. You need to make sure that any details are appropriate to the task and appropriate to the audience and purpose. So here we have addressed all of these bullet points here. We've said whether or not we agree with the proposal, and we've included relevant details about that. So they've said that they don't agree with the proposal, and they've given an explanation of this. They think that if they send a survey to students, then the proposal will be dismissed. So they don't agree with the proposal and they don't then they've given detailed reasons to support these views. So detailed reasons are given throughout the answer. So in this paragraph we're focusing on the health benefits of eating meat and fish and the disadvantages of eating nuts and legumes and other foods. And then in this paragraph they're explaining that the food that's offered in the canteen impacts the freedom of students to make their own choices. So we've got lots of reasons here to support the views that have been given. So overall the details that have been included are really relevant, and we've got facts that have been used to justify our answer. So for example, we've got it is rich in omega-3 justifies our opinion that fish is a healthy food. Now let's take a look at the formatting and organisational features that have been included here. So we've been asked to write an online form here. Now this is quite a tricky text type, and it's one that you might not have come across before. Sometimes you will be presented with quite a tricky text type in the exam, but don't panic. You should always just make sure that you are using paragraphs to structure your answer, and you try to use the kinds of organisational features that you think would be relevant. So in this answer, this feedback form is structured a little bit like an email. So we've got an address of the dear catering team, and then we have regards, Sanctuary Kingsley. So it's structured a bit like an email or letter.
Another important part of the marking criteria is cohesion. So your sentences will need to be linked together, and you need to join up ideas within your answer so that they flow. Within this answer, all of the sentences flow on from one another and are linked together. So remember that all of the sentences that are in the same paragraph should be about the same thing. And in this paragraph here, for example, we are talking about nutrition, focusing on protein in the first sentence, and then explaining in further detail about protein in the second sentence, and connecting this with other vital nutrients. And then we go on to talk about these vital nutrients in the next sentence, such as omega-3, which is an important nutrient for the brain. And then we have sort of a summary of this paragraph at the end here. Replacing these important dietary elements with handfuls of salad and plates of chips is hardly a wise choice in terms of nutrition. So focusing on nutrition throughout that paragraph there. We've also got a good order of sentences in the other paragraphs. We've got great use of connectives in this answer. So for example, we have moreover to connect to the previous paragraph and to show that we're going to talk about something that's even more important in this paragraph. We've also got words like and that have been used throughout the answer to add some additional information to sentences. The paragraphs are ordered really logically in this answer as well. So we've got an introduction of the overall opinion, then talking about health, and then finally explaining students' right to choice. And then finally we have some suggestions and a little bit of a conclusion at the end there. So overall, a fantastic answer in terms of cohesion. The language and register in your answers will have to be appropriate for the audience and purpose. So you need to have the right kind of tone and style to match the reader that you're aiming at and the purpose of the text. Now, the purpose of this text was to make a decision about this proposal and to give reasons. So give detailed reasons to support your views on whether you agree with the proposal or not. So here we've got lots of persuasive techniques to try and persuade people to agree with this point of view. So we've got negative language that has been used throughout to describe this person's negative opinion of the proposal. So for example, they are advocating for the immediate dismissal of the proposal and they describe it as absurd. They also use words like clearly ridiculous to try and persuade the reader that the proposal shouldn't be taken seriously. The response is also really well suited to the audience. So it's addressed to the catering team and it's focused on catering options within the cafeteria throughout. So they've mentioned the proposal straight away to ban the sale of meat and fish in the canteen, and they've given their opinion immediately. The answer has been appropriately written for this audience using formal language. So for example, we have sophisticated words like moreover, and the answer has been written in standard English with no slang or contractions throughout. We're speaking to a professional group of people that we don't know well, so we need to make sure that we are remaining formal throughout the answer, and this does this really effectively. It's also really important that you try to link together your ideas. So within each sentence, you should try to include multiple ideas. So we've got a few longer sentences in this answer. So we've got, unlike high protein foods like nuts and legumes, the protein in meat and fish is released rapidly, providing students with the vital nutrients that they need to succeed in a learning environment. So this is a longer sentence that draws together lots of ideas. So we've got examples of foods that people think might be high protein, but they've explained that the protein in meat and fish might be superior because it is released rapidly. And this provides students with vital nutrients. So can you see how commas have been used to connect ideas together? And we've also got connectives like and that have been used to make this sentence a little bit longer and to show that the student knows how to draw their ideas together. Try to use a few longer sentences in your answers, but make sure that you're not making them too long, because if you're sort of making your answers really, really long, each sentence might be a bit difficult to read. So overall, this is a fantastic answer for a number of reasons. The answer effectively answers the question, So each point in the question has been addressed. They have focused on the information that has been given, and they have completed the writing task by saying whether they agree with the proposal, they clearly disagree, and giving detailed reasons to support their views. So you could write your own answer and agree with this proposal instead, or you could write a similar answer that disagrees. Have a go at writing your own answer and try to make sure that it flows effectively. You are using paragraphs and correct formatting throughout your answer. Your spelling is accurate and you're using a range of punctuation correctly. Your writing completely makes sense, all the grammar is correct, and it is appropriate for the audience and purpose that's specified in the question.